By now, you may be aware that the Orange Menace was in court today in New York for final arguments in his $370 million court case, which he is apparently almost certain to lose, thereby putting his financial future in very serious jeopardy, including the loss of all of his businesses, potential bankruptcy, etc. And pundits seem to be pointing to the fact that despite the knowledge that the criminal cases that he's also facing, multiple criminal cases, even so, Trump tends to be most focused on his finances. And this is why he has attended the proceedings for this case in New York a number of times, including this one. He was able to get in a statement claiming that the fraud is being done to him, blah, 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 the usual. I mean, this man is a professional liar, and it has worked for him up to now, but it's starting to now fail. It no longer works. And when you look at his astrology, there is a very clear explanation for both what is happening now and what is about to happen for the next week, when he is going to be for sure, raging and fuming. And in his chart, for that, we look to first, the new moon is happening in Capricorn over here. This is not a friendly sign for him because it triggers the Mercury in the 12th, and then later in the sign Saturn and Venus. In this particular case, it's the later planets that are more affected. But the long and the short of it is Capricorn as a sign is not favorable to him at all. And when we look at the position of Venus, we would put it in the middle of Sagittarius, meaning it's about to move a little forward here, and what it's going to do is it's going to oppose his Uranus, and that's a fairly challenging but very quick moving planet. That's the aftermath of the ruling, which would take you into tomorrow and the next day, perhaps into the weekend. Not that big a deal. The problem is, however, the Mars. Mars is in Capricorn, again, not a favorable sign, and indeed, the degrees that it's in are the same degrees that it was in back in October of 2016 when the Access Hollywood bus incident was revealed. And even though we all know that he survived that, it nevertheless put quite a stain on his reputation, on his record, and revealed to the majority of Americans what this man is really like. And what I observed from 2016 until present time is that he tends to get very uncomfortable when planets go through here. And of course, Mars would definitely be one of those planets because that was the planet that was there then, years back. But any other planet will tend to do the same thing. And it's also true that this will happen in the similar degrees of, in this case, the Access Hollywood incident, which are from about 6 degrees to about 10 degrees, because that's what spans the orbs of his Access Hollywood T-square, as I decided to call it at the time, formed by Neptune, Eris, and Mercury. So then it's degrees in here, degrees over here in Libra, or in Cancer, or in Aries. Point being, though, right now it's in the Capricorn region, and you can see in the ephemeris here that Mars is going through there today, 5 degrees. It's already within orb of the Neptune, and until about the 18th, possibly the 19th. And this is ragey, frustrating, angry, combative energy. In a way, nothing new for Trump. And yet, at the same time, you can see that this man, it's not just that he runs into problems, he also tends to make them worse as they're happening through a particularly difficult transit. And something he did very recently, I believe it was yesterday, is in response to a woman who was confronting him in regard to comments he made about Roe v. Wade, because he was saying to the people that he endorsed in the 2022 midterms that they should not speak so strongly against abortion because it would probably cause them to lose, which is 100% true. So he was being political, but this woman, very pro-life, wanted an explanation. So of course, Trump, having to be the hero all the time, having to always look great on Fox News, immediately went on a rant saying that he was the one that had terminated Roe v. Wade, that he was the person that had achieved this major achievement that they had been trying to do, they're trying to pass for more than 50 years. Great, now you've said it, now you're going to wear it during the election year, because I can guarantee you, you will be reminded over and over and over. And like someone said, in Ohio, where you may be aware, recently the abortion issue passed overwhelmingly in terms of the people that are against the restrictions. So Ohio, I think it was 57%, but more importantly, 18 counties that voted for Trump voted to maintain abortion rights. This is a major issue for the GOP, a major issue for Trump or for whoever runs as a GOP candidate or vice president. So that would be an example of doing something that is going to be very counterproductive, and it's reflected in the nature of this aspect. And if you look a little bit down the road in terms of just Mars, because in a soon-to-be-made video, I will show that Mars is definitely a problem, but there is a lot going on here that we're going to be seeing because of multiple other planets. But here, let's just look at Mars for the rage. And so then, we know in here, definitely a problem, but we also know down here in this range of February, again, very problematic, because that is when Mars will get near the later degrees and it'll oppose this Saturn-Venus conjunction. And again, degrees that he very much dislikes, and when he makes mistakes and when things happen to challenge him. Keep in mind that Mars at birth is rising. He wears it on his sleeve. You know, his aggression, his vulgar behavior, very martial. This Mars rules the ninth. The ninth is the primary legal house. It's the house of the law. This Mars squares his MC. So this Mars, sooner or later, can do damage to the person. And on what account? On account of the law, for one thing. You know, there are other things, of course. His aggression is part of the problem as well, but strictly speaking here, we'll focus on the law. Now, Mars there, again, opposite these planets, more material will likely surface, more problems related to the charges, etc. And then if you think in between, not much relief there, because then you start looking at midpoints. Like, for example, the Mercury-Venus midpoint is around 17 plus degrees, Mercury-Saturn a little earlier at 16 plus. And if you coalesce these planets and add up the energy and get the midpoint of that, or rather the coalesced energy, that's around 19 3/4, which means we can put another block in here from about roughly in there to pretty much when it gets to the degrees where it opposes Saturn-Venus. So really, from now until mid-February or close to mid-February, Mars is a huge, huge problem, and expect him to rage, expect him to make more mistakes, and expect more setbacks to happen over this period of time.